Let's come back to France now, where the country is still mired in political chaos 1 week after Prime Minister Michel Barnier was kicked out in a no-confidence vote. This afternoon, Emmanuel Macron is meeting with all the country's political parties, except, that is, the far-right National Rally and the far-left France Unbowed. The French president's office saying only those who were in a, quote, framework of compromise were invited to attend. France's parliament has been divided almost evenly between a left alliance, Macron centrists, and the far right since the snap election he called in July. Last week, the prime minister was ousted over a cost-cutting draft budget for 2025 meant to tackle France's massive deficit. Well, we're going to talk more about all of this now with French politics specialist Benoit Dillet. Benoit, thanks for taking the time to speak to us. Here we are almost 1 week after the prime minister was toppled in that confidence vote. President Macron meeting all the parties today, except, as I was saying, the far right and the far left. Do you think this is the right approach?
Not really. I think he's trying to find a new political culture that cannot emerge so quickly. I think the crisis in France will last for another year or two. So we're in a period of transition now between basically the parliamentary election and the coming presidential election in 2027. This is the end of Macron in many ways. His power is waning, and not many people actually. His authority is really declining now.
So just explain that a bit more for our international viewers, if you like. France does not have the right to hold elections again until next summer, correct?
Yes, that's right. And this is why, so there's a lot of gesture politics. I think also a lot of people are very careful. If they agree to be in a government, they don't really know if the government will stay for another few months. So we are in a period where there's a lot of instability. It's not unlike a country like Italy, where you've got a lot of new governments. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad for governing. It just means that it's very different for the French political culture. We haven't really had that instability for a long time.
So given that, can we even think about who might be France's next prime minister at this point? I mean, one name that's been tossed about is a centrist, François Bayrou. Could he be the candidate?
Oh, I seriously doubt he will be the prime minister. Also, you had some really problematic cases against him. I think, well, there's one candidate, which is Lucie Castet's, who was put forward by the left, and they were very clear on the mandate that they wanted to give her. You have to remember that back in June, the left came first to the parliamentary election, and Macron decided actually to nominate someone from a political party that arrived fourth. So in many ways, it was deeply unpopular what he decided to do. So now we've got, so probably the left will be given a choice to govern, but Macron wants a very moderate left, and I think he's wrong here. Yeah.
He's wrong?
I think he's wrong because he doesn't realize that the center of gravity of the left is much more radical left than he thinks, and it's not just in terms of party politics, but it's also in terms of the voters, and he just doesn't want to realize that. And even the Socialist Party, they don't really want to make an alliance with the right-wing parties or the centrist parties.
One of the big issues here, of course, if Michel Barnier, the former prime minister, lost his job, it was over plans to cut costs to get France's budget back in line. Now, the budget does need to get back in line. Which party has the best economic policy to actually help France get a handle on its massive deficit?
I think it's really interesting. I think the economic policy here is absolutely crucial. What we have witnessed is by calling the snap election in June, actually Macron created a lot of chaos on financial markets for France. So he partly is responsible also for the bad economic situation that France is finding itself in. But he doesn't really want to recognize that. And he also really wanted a kind of austerity plan, and that was what Barnier put forward, and that was rejected by the National Assembly. So clearly, it is not possible to go forward with austerity. And what at the moment the political landscape needs is new ideas on economic policies, alternative forms of economic policies.
We're currently in what's known as the Fifth Republic here in France. Do you think there's any chance there might be a push to change the French constitution, eventually creating a Sixth Republic?
So this was the proposal from Jean-Luc Mélenchon since 2012. So it's been basically for the last 12 years. And I think that's absolutely right. I think the institutions of the Fifth Republic are really crumbling. We've seen lots of problems over the last few years, and this could be a possibility. Yeah.
Thanks so much for that, French politics specialist Benoit Dillet, for taking the time to speak to us here on France 24.